In this town on Valentine's Day, everybody loses their heart.
It looks like Harry Warden's back in town.
In the town of Valentine Bluffs, there are many ways to die. Take your pick. My Bloody Valentine. Rated R.
Thanks for tuning in to FHMP, coming at you from this grandiose Saturday morning still. I am your host, the Prime Minister of Sinister, Don Nice, and my co-host with the most is Triple P, the Pajama Pants Player, John Grande. How are you this fine morning, John?
I am fine on this fine morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man, after the big Dodgers win in the first game of the NLDS last night. I'm pretty excited, ready for the next game tonight. What about you? What's going on in your life, bruh?
Well, it's been a pretty crazy-ass week, to be honest with you. A lot of school stuff, a lot of work, and my car. I was in my creative writing class, and this kid runs into the room and says, "Hey, you," and he points at me, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is not going to end well." He goes, "Yo, your car is smoking bad," and I was like, "Oh shit." So I haul ass to my car in the middle of my poetry class. I get to my car and pop the hood, and it's on fire. The engine's on fire.
Oh my gosh! What? And
I'm like, "Holy shit!" So I had a Poland Spring. I was drinking water, and I was like, all right, better time. I guess I got water on me, so I start sparing the water around.
Yeah.
And I somehow get the fire to go out. So I'm like, wow, man, like this is pretty amazing. So then I'm starting to figure, like, how am I gonna get this car home? What am I gonna do? Should I call AAA? Should I call my dad? Should I call a tow? I'm gonna drive Reggie the Reckless home. That's the name of my car, by the way, for anybody, because it's just my favorite movie character, or one of, and I don't know. My car is reckless, so I was like, "Yo, I gotta drive this car home." So I, by the grace of God, somehow get the damn thing started, and I'm driving, and I see all this smoke coming out of everywhere in my car.
Oh man!
I literally looked like a cotton ball in the middle of the road.
You look like a Cheech and Chong mobile.
Yeah. And I'm driving home on the highway. It's like a 20-minute drive, the car is really driving like shit. Like the engine, there's no power to it.
Right.
And it was so funny. I have people honking at me at every red light. Your car is smoking. I was like, I noticed.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm like, I got to try to get the damn thing home. I don't want to pay $150 for a tow truck if I don't have to.
Right.
So I push and pull and whatnot, and the car breaks down 3 blocks from my house.
Oh, well, that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad at all.
Yeah.
I pretty much did the same thing. I waited for the car to cool down a little bit, and then kind of pushed and pulled it all the way back. Got it to my house, and it's at the mechanic right now as we speak.
So what's up? I mean, what's wrong with it?
Well, what he said was the hose that connects to the engine was severed. I don't know how it got severed. I don't know if it's just old, I don't know.
Right.
But he said that was the hole where the exhaust goes, and thus why all the exhaust went up. He said how it caught fire. Wow. He's like, I have no idea. He said that's a mystery.
Holy shit.
So it's at the mechanic now. I'm probably after this gonna see if it's ready to get picked up, or how well he did with it. But I'm optimistic, because I talked to the guy yesterday and he seemed to think that it would be okay. So
Good. So after you got home and you got it to the mechanic or whatever, did you call your arch enemy to see if they severed the hose or whatever?
I don't have an arch enemy.
Hey, not that you know of. I'm just
it's
kidding.
True. Yeah, he said it's just old. He was like, yeah, I think it's just old, man. He basically tells me every time I go there that the car is a piece piece of shit and I should throw it away. This is, trust me, there's a problem with the car. Like every 2 weeks, there's a problem with the car. So,
man.
But I love it. It's kind of like it's my piece of shit.
Right. Hard to get rid of. Reggie the Reckless, right?
Absolutely. It's gonna be a disheartening day if I do have to eventually junk the car, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Well, we don't want to talk about that. It's like losing a member of the family.
Bereavement. I'll have to take time off of the podcast for bereavement.
Okay, all right, yeah, no doubt. All right, yeah, we'll give you some leave on that. So, anyways, man, so I know you got a chance to watch the this episode's movie, but did you get a chance to check anything else out? Anything else come across that you enjoyed?
Yeah, actually I did. I watched a couple movies. I watched since it's the Halloween season, I've really been I usually like make a list for myself, or I have certain movies that I want to watch, and two of those I did get a chance to watch, and I watched City of Living Dead again.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
For like the second time in a few weeks, and I watched Evil Dead.
Oh, nice. The original?
Yeah. Yes, the original
awesome.
Sam Raimi classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bruce Campbell, whatnot. But, man, those are two really good movies to watch around this time of year because they're both really creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, City of Living Dead, you and I talked about this a little bit. That's my favorite Fulci movie of all time. Giovanni Lombardo Radici's in that, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things in that movie that I really, really enjoy. And I know it's not your favorite, and I guess we'll talk about what that is. House by the Cemetery, obviously, but we'll definitely talk about those movies. Maybe we should put them into a trilogy episode or something like that, and we could sit down and watch those movies and talk about them. But
totally.
Yeah, anything Fulci.
I love. They're both fantastic movies to watch around Halloween. I'm going to watch House by the Cemetery a little bit closer to Halloween.
Gotcha.
But man, that Giovanni Lamberto Radici drill scene, though.
Yeah, classic. Yeah,
crazy.
Anybody who hasn't seen that movie definitely needs to go check it out. But you were talking about your list. You kind of make a list every year around Halloween, and everyone who's listening should know that because you kind of put that on. Was it out on Instagram, I believe, or did you tweet it? I can't remember what it was.
I put my Halloween horror picks
from
last year on our Facebook page.
Oh, Facebook. I knew it was out there somewhere. But yeah, anybody who hasn't checked that out, go to our Facebook page. There's a link to John talking about on his YouTube channel about the movies that he watched last year. Was it all of them, or did you just kind of put the list out there? I can't remember.
That was just the ones I watched last year and the ones I had planned to watch. But I mean, we could do an episode maybe this year on. We could do like our Halloween horror picks or ones that we want to watch and talk about them a little bit. We could totally do an episode on that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Maybe we should start doing, every once in a while do something on YouTube. You do something one time, I'll do something the next time. I mean, we could do something like that. I don't know if people are interested. Let us know if you're interested in that, guys. Put it out there. We'll make an episode here or there, in video. You get a chance to check us out. And I know I'm super, super handsome. John's a good-looking guy. You definitely want to check us out. So, but anyways, anything else? I actually had a chance to watch the movie Venom. Have you ever seen that? From 2005?
Yeah, from like mid-2000s?
Yeah, it's 2005. And I don't know. I'm going to assume you're not a huge fan of the movie, and I have to. I mean, it's an okay movie, but I'm starting to realize that there's a nostalgia thing for me from those movies from, say, from Scream on to the mid 2000s.
I actually know exactly what you mean. Like movies like Jeepers Creepers,
absolutely.
Jeepers Creepers 2.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you did last summer. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. As a matter of fact, I know what you did last summer too more than I do the first one. But Urban Legend. I don't know what it is. Again, I feel like it's probably more of a nostalgia thing than anything because I don't. I know you're not a fan of those neo slasher type movies. I mean, a big fan anyway. We can enjoy them, but there's just a little bit more to it now. You know what I mean? Like the movie Venom, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it this time around. It was one that I couldn't remember, so I obviously didn't really, I didn't think it was kick-ass or anything the first time I saw it. But the second time around, I thought it was pretty good. Do you remember it?
To be honest, I saw it once. I think it was on like the Sci-Fi Channel, and I don't remember disliking it. I thought it was okay. I'd have to. My opinion is really invalid, though. I really don't give a shit about the movie.
Yeah, I got you.
Was Tony Todd in the movie or no?
No. It was what the I can't even remember any of the characters that were in the movie or not. I think Rachel Bilson is the only name, and I think that's who it is. Anyways, But yeah, there wasn't any big names or people who went on to do anything huge in the movie. But the story's about a voodoo woman who helped these bad guys by taking the I'm going to be real basic here. Taking their demons out of them and putting them into snakes, and then she was trying to transport these snakes somewhere, and she got into a car crash, and there was a guy with a tow truck that she ran into and then ran into the water, and she told him to get the case out with the snakes in it, and the snakes bit him, and he turned into a serial killer. And like a supernatural killer. And, you know, I mean, there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but it's, you know, it's a pretty basic story. And like I said, I mean, it's definitely, you know, it's not like a great script or great acting or anything like that. It was, like I said, it was probably more nostalgia, but I enjoyed it. You know, it's one of those ones you could sit down and, you know, an hour and a half go by and, you still think it's halfway decent. You can watch the whole thing. Some of them, you know, you want to shut off, but this one, you know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, they all have a certain feel to them that kind of can keep you watching. Even if they're terrible, it's like, even though this is shitty, it's like, I kind of want to see how this ends. Like, right. It's weird, but I actually know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is that they even though those are, you know, not the greatest movies and not the greatest slashers, you know, ever, they don't make them like that anymore. You know what I mean? They don't make slashers like that anymore, or at least not, you know, mainstream slashers anyway. So that's probably part of it, is that it's just, you know, it's just a part of the genre that I miss. So it was definitely worth sitting down and watching. So was there anything else you had a chance to see other than?
No, how about you, brother?
No, man. I'm trying to think. You know, we watched. This isn't horror, but I sat down with my kids and my wife and watched the new Transformers movie, and that's another. You know, that's just a turn your mind off. You know. Thing. You know, definitely not a good movie by any means, but, you know, they enjoyed it. The problem with those movies is that they're just way too long, man. You know, 2 hours and 40 minutes is, I mean, I'm sorry, that's too, it's not a Marvel movie, you know. I enjoy Marvel movies a lot more than I enjoy those Transformers movies. But, you know, that's another one, you know, if, you know, worth checking out. I definitely wouldn't give it any awards or anything like that. So, but anyways, I guess we should probably get into the title episode for this, the title for this episode, My Bloody Valentine. We're going to talk more, everybody, about 1981's version. We'll talk a little bit about the remake, but what's your memory of when you saw this film? I mean, was it something you saw early on, or was it something that you came to later?
This one I came to very late on the party. I honestly, growing up, I watched all the Friday the 13th and stuff
sure.
like that, but I had heard of this movie.
Right.
In fact, the remake I think had come out, and I still hadn't seen it. I think that's probably around the time. It was a little bit after when the remake came out, where I saw it in Walmart for like $5 on DVD, the original.
Nice. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a. Why the hell not? You know. And to be honest, I liked it from the first time I saw it, but I never. Like, this is it's a weird thing with me, because even though I consider it a quintessential classic, you know, probably a top 10 slasher on the majority of people's list, right. It's not one that I go back to much, and it's not one that I adore, like I adore Friday the 13th, or really am into, like, you know, The Burning or anything. But I don't know, I love the legend of Harry Warden.
Yeah.
I love. There's so many things about this movie that just scream classic slasher. What are your memories with this movie? Because to be honest, I've only seen the movie 3 or 4 times now.
Oh, okay.
But it certainly was cool to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I you know, this was in the time when I saw, you know, most of my slasher movies, you know, early to mid 1980s. I'm not sure I saw it on its initial release, you know, on VHS or anything like that. So, you know, maybe 84, 83, 84. Movie came out in 1981. But I can say that I kind of felt exactly like you're saying you feel about this movie originally. I thought, you know, it's a great movie. You know, I really enjoyed it, but it definitely was not up there with the you know, the slasher classics, the Halloweens, the Friday the 13th, even the Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, the first few of those. But I can say that since then, my mind has changed, and I can say that this movie now, you know, there's a lot of history with slasher films that you and I are very, very, you know, we know a lot about, but a lot of people might not understand that kind of Canadian connection that the early slashers had. You know, movies like Black Christmas, this Prom Night, These were all made in Canada. Now, I have to say that now the way I feel about this movie is this is definitely, in my opinion, on par with Halloween and Friday the 13th. And if this movie would have came out before Friday the 13th, I do absolutely believe that this would be Friday the 13th. And as popular, wow. Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts in my opinion. I cannot believe that this film has no sequels. Are you surprised that this movie doesn't have sequels? Because this movie made a decent amount of money.
Well, see, yeah, that I didn't know how it did at the box office. That was something I was going to ask you. Was it number one? Was it a big?
No, no.
How long? How much did it make?
Well, I can tell you that this movie made. I didn't write it down. I believe it made over $10 million. Now, you might think, wow, that's not really that much money, but I believe the movie cost less than $1 million, and when it didn't have the release that Friday the 13th did. Friday the 13th, I don't know if people understand, was the first movie ever to be released on more than 2,000 screens. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that, actually.
Yeah, so
didn't it make 34?
44, I believe.
44 mil, okay. Yeah. Which, again, doesn't sound like much to people, but right. Yeah, back then it was,
Right, exactly. So
you gotta put into, process that exactly. The tickets were not as much as they are today.
Exactly.
When I went to see it was like $12 for a ticket,
right?
Which is fucking nuts, Right. So that's why it's triple the ticket value at the gate.
Exactly.
So the money goes up.
Yeah. So a lot of people. That's another thing a lot of people don't understand. That you think Jaws only made $100 million. Well, that's there are movies now making $1 billion. Well, actually, back in 1974. $100 million was just like $1 billion. So, I know a lot of people don't quite understand that. Bear with me just 1 second. Sorry. My computer's doing weird stuff. Whoa. All right. Sorry about that. It was asking me to do some kind of update. I thought it was going to make me do it. But this movie cost about a little under $1 million to make and made $5.6 million. So, and that's Canadian money versus USA money too. So keep that in mind. So I couldn't believe that they wouldn't try to make a sequel to this and advertise it a little bit more and try to make $20 million or something like that. So I was really surprised. And Friday the 13th was an anomaly. The way that it cost $500,000 to make and made $44 million or something like that. That's why it was such a big hit, and because they released it on so many screens. Well, this movie was not released on anywhere near that many screens, and it was probably more of a Halloween type movie where it was played regionally first. So, anyways, but I love this movie. I mean, I think this movie, like I said, I think it's on par. And one of the things that makes this movie stand out is the character development and the attention to characters in this movie. Don't you think? Do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is the number one. The best thing about this movie is the characters. I would agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
I think where maybe it loses me a bit is maybe it is the Canadian feel, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the atmosphere of this movie. What would you say about the atmosphere?
I definitely see where you're coming from. I kind of see this movie more as a if you cut out the kills, the any of the violence that's in this movie, this definitely has a TV feel. Don't you think? It has more of a Dark Night of the Scarecrow movie type feel in the way that it was made, and that's probably because these people really didn't know what they were doing at the time. You know what I mean? They weren't industry vets or anything like that when they were making this movie. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I could see where you're coming from, but now when I watch it, I see a little bit more of the nuance. There's definitely some bad acting in this film. The mayor is Mayor Hanniger, played by Larry Reynolds. He's not very good. His and I don't know if they were really going for that or not. I guess there's a possibility that they were going for cheese with his reactions to things. But man, I thought he was pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from with the feel to this movie. I think there's a couple ways to look at it. And that's the thing. Anybody who has an opportunity to do what John and I are doing right now on a podcast, it makes you look at movies differently, doesn't it?
I don't about that.
It does for me.
Do you look? Are you saying like you look at it more critically?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because before I was just looking to be entertained, and now I'm looking at things a little more critically. For sure.
I don't know if I do as much. I honestly, especially with a slasher, I don't like. I wasn't like, oh, the acting is poor, But I mean, it can be if it's standout, I'll acknowledge it. But there was just things that I was trying to pick up on this movie that like. I still to this day think the kills are great. I think the kills are phenomenal. I think the characters are phenomenal. Yeah. I think the story, the setting, the background, phenomenal. I just think the one thing that this one didn't have for me was definitely the lack of atmosphere. It just didn't. It isn't. It's hard to warm up to the movie, I think. Okay. I think that's like my main kind of. I don't know if you'd even call it a gripe because I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sure.
It's just I think that's what keeps it from being. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Like it's a classic. It's great, but I don't think I'd put it on my list of favorite slashers. But it is a top 10 slasher. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I totally understand. Let me ask you this: did you get a chance to watch this? What version? Do you have this on DVD or do you have the Blu-ray?
I have the DVD.
Okay, is it the special edition? I can't. I'm just trying to. Did you watch the extended version or the theatrical?
Yeah, I watched the uncut version. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have to say, did you feel that? I mean, the extended version cuts. The stuff that was cut out during the kills was absolutely amazing. Don't you think? Like
totally. It makes a lot of a difference, as opposed to like the uncut Friday the 13th they came out with.
Right. Yeah. So if you're into gore, and I don't want to say it's super gory, but it's much more gory than the theatrical version. For instance, when he kills the bartender that's setting up the fake Harry Warden to scare them, and then he opens up the door and it's the real Harry Warden, and he puts the pickaxe through his, up under his jaw, and his eyeball.
That's my favorite kill of the movie.
His eyeball pops out. Yeah. So yeah, that's incredible. So, anyways, if you get a chance, if anybody out there is going to watch this movie, watch the extended version because it's better. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I apologize for that. I wanted to talk about the very opening scene where Harry Warden or whoever kills the blonde-haired girl, where he, shoves her on the pickaxe that he had stuck in the wall. You know what I'm talking? And it comes through the tattoo, the heart tattoo on her chest. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Classic, man. That is a great, because it really has not much of anything else to do with the movie.
Right.
It's just honestly just an excuse just to have somebody, killed and the title sequence, So,
right.
It reminds me of The Burning when Prophecy goes to the,
exactly.
That doesn't open the movie, but it's very similar.
Yep. Yeah, I know what I consider that.
That lady had nothing to do with anything. But he just decided to kill her.
Poor lady. But yeah, where she's like, he doesn't want to take the mask off, and she's like rubbing on the hose that's coming from his mask.
It's kind of like you question. You're like, why am I watching this?
Right. This is the Triple X version. I think I picked up the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny. And where they're all, and I thought, did you think the tension between Axel and TJ was done well? I thought they focused the right amount on that. What do you think? I thought it was done pretty good.
I think it's done pretty good too. It's weird to see like a love triangle in a slasher movie like this, but I mean, I think it's done, as well as it could have been. It's a little weird, but obviously, if you know this movie, you understand why they do it. But I think all three actors do a pretty good job. And I think it's like you really do feel tense. There are tense moments when they're arguing and stuff, like in the bar, and like I don't know. I like those scenes. I think all the actors actually do a pretty good job. And like I've heard a lot of people say about The Burning, oh, you really care about all the characters. Like I disagree. I care about all the characters, or majority of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the tension between them. It isn't, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but it isn't done as well in the remake. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that
I don't think that's something they even focused on, to be honest. I think that the remake, I feel like that was more of a 3D, like the 3D gimmick.
Right.
It was like, let's get people like, oh, Tom Atkins is in it. Is this going to be, because it's easy to fool the marks when you put somebody that they love in something,
Absolutely, yeah. So, but yeah, so... one thing that again surprise me in this movie, and it makes me second guess my nostalgia and memory for these slasher movies, John, and because the last 3 movies we've talked about, there hasn't really been like the hot chick.
No, that's true.
And there hasn't been boobs. And,
Other than The Burning, right?
Right, that's it. And I thought, man, you know what I mean? So it must be that part of the slasher nostalgia for us must come from the mid-'80s.
I don't know. I think it actually comes more from like the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, well, think about that though. Friday the 13th. There's only one in there, and it's very quick.
Well, I mean, like part 4.
Oh yeah,
part
right,
5.
right. So they can't. That was like the mid-'80s, right? That became more of part of the slasher trope in the mid-'80s. I think. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Not to say that that the women in this movie were ugly, or I mean. As a matter of fact, we'll talk a little bit about that later, and one that I found more attractive than the rest. But I just thought it was interesting. I kept thinking, man, maybe I'm wrong. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I just thought that was super interesting. That
is very interesting. That's true. It's one of those things where you're like, it didn't really come around until about halfway through its death.
Right. Yeah, like hashtag BBM, right? Boobs, blood, and mayhem. That's your, that's kind of your thing, man. We need to get that on a shirt, bro. I'm going to get that on a shirt. I'm telling you right now. No, I'm telling you, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My sister makes shirts. I'm gonna make 2 of them, and I'll send you one.
Oh, anyway. Cool. Okay.
Anyways, one of the things too about this movie that I really liked is they kind of did the campfire story a little differently. And I thought, at least that's the way I took it. When the bartender's telling the story, remember they go to the bar and that bartender's telling the story.
I think it's done super well.
Yeah,
man. I really like how that's done because it's kind of out of nowhere, but it's I like the way he delivers the story. Yeah. And unlike like a movie like Madman, the music that they add into the the flashback scenes are really good and creepy, I thought.
Yeah. I thought it was done, and and they kind of scoff at him and laugh him off, and he gets all worked up. And that's how later on he's trying to scare the kids with a Harry Warden dummy or whatever. So that's how that kind of comes in. But yeah, I thought it was done pretty well, and I likened it to it. Did you liken it to the campfire type story, or did you think it was something totally different?
Oh no, I think it's exactly the camp. It's the legend, I guess you could say, because since it wasn't technically around a campfire,
right?
But it's the legend. It's the legend of this man who a long time ago was trapped underneath this, and ate all this other miners to stay alive,
right.
and killed all these people for revenge, So
yeah.
I always thought the legend was probably the best thing about this movie. It's so cool.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you think about the get up? The mask and did you find that? I don't want to say scary because it doesn't really work that way for us anymore. But do you think it's as good as say maybe it's not on par with Halloween and Friday the 13th? What do you think?
I wouldn't put it on par with that. No, I wouldn't. I even think like Cropsy and Madman are a little bit more iconic. Like I know a lot of people are big fans of that look, but like right. I don't know, I've never been, never like even from the first time I saw this, I was like, it's cool, but I don't know. It felt more that it was like an identity seal. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. I likened it. You know what? It kept reminding me of the Prowler. That's what it kept reminding me of. It was more of just like you said, just to conceal who it was. You know what I mean? I mean, we didn't. There was no guessing who Michael Myers was. There was no guessing who Jason was. You know what I mean? So on. So this movie was. I don't know. I guess there's 2 different kind of subcategories here of slasher movies, you know what I mean? Like, you have your Prom Nights and and My Bloody Valentine and The Prowler, where it conceals who it is, and the other ones you actually know who it is. So I don't know, two kind of subsets there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Movies like
never thought about it before.
Like Final Exam,
right?
The killer just shows up.
Right, absolutely. Well, like that. Thinking about it, that new Happy Death Day, that's kind of what that is. That thing he has on or she has on is just to conceal who it is, because that's the whole movie, right? She's trying to figure out who's killing her and why. Have you seen previews for that?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I'm going to see it though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's funny because like my kids are super excited to see it, which is weird because they don't really like horror movies. But that shows the difference between the older generation and that the young generation. So they're pretty excited to see it. What about we were talking a little bit about Chief Newby and the mayor and Mabel. What did you think about those characters? Did you like those characters?
Yeah, I definitely did. Are they like, do they add much? I don't think so.
Right.
They're just pretty much, I feel like, in the movie to be there towards the end.
Right, yeah.
Basically,
absolutely.
but like, I think all our main cast does a great job. Like, all of them. I think they really all pull off. But what was the name of that big fat guy? Like, what's his real name? I forget.
His name's Hollis in the movie. I got him here somewhere. I can't remember his name, of course. Oh, it's Keith Knight.
Dude, Keith Knight was killer in this movie.
I liked him too. He was kind of like the lovable big dude, you know what I mean? And like when they were fighting and he grabs both of them and, separates them as they're fighting. I love that scene. I thought I thought he was super, super likable in this movie for sure. And I thought it sucked that he died. I was mad when he died.
Oh my God. Yeah. I see. That was like I was like, oh no, and also like, dude, how did he land a girl that hot?
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, "Come on, man, that doesn't work that way." Which is kind of took me to my next point. I thought she was like the best looking girl in the movie.
I agree. I totally agree. She was the best looking girl, and I was like, "Yo, my man Hollis is with this chick." I was like, "This is." Well, I was shocked. Like she enters the room and they full on like make out. I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "They must have paid her a little extra."
Right, it's funny.
She looked like she thoroughly enjoyed it.
No, she's a great actress. Actually, she went on to do some stuff, some other things. If I can't remember what it was, I'll have to look it up here in a second. But it's funny that you say that about her because right here in my notes, one of my bullet points was Patty was way too cute for Hollis. So yes, we totally agree. We totally agree with that.
Good for Hollis, though.
Yeah, way to go, brother. I'm with you. Yeah, no doubt. Going back to those other kind of minor characters, though, I really liked Mabel. I liked the Mabel character. I thought, she died, but she seemed like that grandmotherly, that grandmotherly type. But what about that kill, or at least the reveal scene where she's in the dryer? I always thought that was a great scene and pretty gory too. I mean, where her head flops out and she's all burnt up and part skeleton. Did you like that, or did you think it was cheesy?
I actually kind of, to this day, think it's cheesy. But, like, I can understand why you'd love it so much. And it's because I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of what I can compare this to. Like, the scene where the girl from Friday the 13th, that after she has sex with Kevin Bacon, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But Marcy's her name in the movie, but I can't think of the actress's name. While she's in that, like, bathroom.
Yeah.
That, to me, is, like, one of the creepiest, most atmospheric, just a scary-ass kill. Because, like, your attention is on her, and then they pull that kind of left when you think you're going to get the right with Kevin Bacon and the arrow through the neck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, my God. I was like, so she's safe.
Right.
So I remember when I first watched it, I was like, okay, so Marcy's safe. She's gonna get out of that bathroom. This is just a curveball.
Right.
And then, all of a sudden she's checking the stalls, and then you see the axe and the shadow behind her, and she turns, screams, and then boom,
splitting headache.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that to me is a terrifying, iconic. I thought this scene was. I don't know. I think it's the one thing about this movie. It's just like the atmosphere doesn't. I never get into a scene. I don't know. I know I sound nitpicky, but
I got you. I
don't know. I feel like it's more cheesy than scary. Even though I think the movie is great as playing it serious. Is really. I look at this more of a serious slasher, don't you?
I do, and that's. I think we may have. Did we talk about this? I think who. I think Justin. We talked about it with Justin Kurzweil, the author of the slasher movie book, or Teenage Wasteland, if you're in other countries. The Canadian films definitely, for sure, took themselves way more serious, and that maybe that's what sets them apart. You know what I mean? There wasn't any of the. I don't want to say there wasn't any, but there wasn't as much, tongue in cheek as the American slasher films, for sure. Yeah, I totally 1000% agree with you there. And I think it's later in my notes that I bring that up. I don't remember what I was, what exactly I was watching when I saw that, but I definitely agree with that for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I thought the idea of putting the human heart in the heart-shaped box was brilliant, though. Like,
absolutely.
That's so slasher. That's so, that's classic, such a classic trope to do something like that, something like sick and sinister like that. Yeah. Like, I think they do a lot of things really, really good here. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know. I think the legend just really, really works. I don't know. How did you feel with? I guess we'll get maybe a little bit into spoilers here.
That's okay.
What do you think of how this movie wraps up? And first of all, I think the setting of the mine was cool.
Sure.
But I always thought it was kind of funny. Like, why? What is so interesting about going underground? But I guess it starts in a mine. It's got to end somewhere in the mine. So the setup I always found a little funny, but it's it's classic slasher tropes. You got to get over that.
Right.
But what did you think about how this movie sort of wraps up towards the end? Like, what did you think about the quote unquote reveal?
Well, to talk a little bit about the point that you just made about what's so interesting, and you know what I think, the difference between our generations is that, and probably our locations, okay, is that you probably don't know many people who work in a mine, do you? I mean, off the top of your head.
I don't. Definitely not.
See, growing up, I mean, my stepfather worked in a mine. So, and I'm from, I'm kind of from the depressed Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania area, where it all kind of meets there, the tri-state area. And, I knew a lot of people who worked in, as a matter of fact, I still know a lot of people who work in mines. So what it is people who don't work in a mine want to know what it's like. You know what I mean? So because it's such a big part of where where I grew up, and the time too, because mines were much more active back then. You know what I mean? So to talk about that point, people were really interested. People go down in a mine every day; it's no big deal to them. But the other people who don't always want to know what it looks like and what it's like down there. You know what I mean? So that might be part of that. But the reveal, I like the mine thing. I thought it was really cool.
So do I.
It's different.
It's like I said, it's
different.
a classic slasher. Like, it has to end there,
Right.
Like Friday the 13th ends in the camp. The burning ends in this kind of barn, you know. But I think this is done a little bit better than the ending of the burning.
Yeah, I would agree. The thing about a mine too is that it forced them to be in a place where they couldn't just get in a car and run away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that so it was like that.
Where the origin was
exactly. It's kind of like that Friday the 13th camp thing, where they're all away from all the the cops and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a trope of a slasher movies of the early 80s. Is they go to a place where most of the time they go to a place where it's not easy. They don't have easy access to adults and police and things like that. But the reveal in this movie, I think that anyone who really pays attention. And I say that after seeing the movie for 37 times or whatever. but anybody who really pays attention knows who this killer is. You know what I mean? If
I knew it the first time I watched it. I knew who it was.
Yeah. See, I have to be honest with you. I didn't. So maybe that says more about me than I want to admit. But because you just for me, I just kind of watch. You know what I mean? I don't really question much, and that's what I was saying about going back and watching these for podcasts, is that I look at them totally different than I did back then, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, I've seen them enough time to still enjoy them. But I thought the reveal in this, I didn't think it was done poorly. Like you said, I thought that the underground was really cool and things like that. But like I said, I think that if you really pay attention and you're taking mental notes, it's pretty hard to not know who the killer is, I guess.
Totally agree. Sure. I think I always kind of wished it was someone else. Like, I always thought it was weird. They were like, oh, Harry Warden, I don't know. Should we spoil it? Like, I don't even.
Well, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. If you haven't seen My Bloody Valentine yet, first of all, shame on you, and you're listening to our podcast. But I would be willing to bet that 95% of the people who would even remotely listen to this should know. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. If not, just know, guys, that we're going to give away something right here. So, but yeah, I think we should go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I thought like it was very odd that, you know, like it wasn't Harry Warden, really, you know?
Right. That, maybe that's why these movies didn't go on to sequels. What do you? Not that it really mattered to companies back then, but you know what I mean. You're right. It should have been Harry Warden, and he should have just made it. You know, he should have just lived. You know, it could. I don't know. I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more if we knew that it was Harry Warden, and you know he was dead, like Jason. You know, we knew he was dead at the end of the movie, but for sure he'd be coming back in a year or so.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing. I don't know if, you know, maybe the most smart idea of this whole slasher genre was to resurrect Jason. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that no one ever thought, let's resurrect Crosby. No, let's resurrect, you know, Harry Warden. They just pretty much when they did that with Jason, they pretty much reinvented the whole kind of thing, you know, because now you could make a sequel to anything. The killer could be blown up at the end. You could think of a way to, you know, have him get struck by lightning and come back under a boat and go to New York. You know, take Manhattan, if you will. So
exactly.
It's pretty funny, but it's true. It's like, I think it's something that The Burning for sure missed out on. I would have loved to see The Burning Part 2.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to have seen, you know, a sequel to this movie. And it's true. There's a lot of movies from this time that are standalone that, where is the sequel? You know, you kind of scratch your head. But I think at the same time, that's what makes these movies so unique. It's that they're standalone one-offs. Right. And I think that's the cool thing about them. It's like we could watch 7 or 8, you know, really good Friday the 13th movies, but there's only one My Bloody Valentine. There's only one The Burning. There's only one Madman. You know, so I think that makes them, in essence, maybe a little bit more special and maybe a little bit more cult-like because Friday the 13th is so mainstream. Yeah, that's a great point. I never even thought about it like that. Yeah, the one thing that they did in this movie that virtually made it impossible to keep coming back. Now you can look at movies like Prom Night and say, "What? There's 4 or 5 of those," but that's not. It's not. You know what I mean? I mean, the sequels are pretty much garbage in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about them, but they're like the Silent Night, Deadly Night, you know, sequels. Very, very hard to watch. Which reminds me, the listener. Mr. Schneider that asked us to do, was it Madman? No, he asked us to do Sleepaway Camp. That's something that you know that he talked about. I don't know. I find it really interesting that that the sequels to those movies had nowhere near the success that the original did. But the one thing that they did with this movie was they kind of killed any chance of a sequel when they revealed that it couldn't be Harry Warden because he died 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And I guess for other slasher movies that never made it an issue, and they made more and more sequels. Yeah, they could have easily said, "Oh, in the next one they could have been like, oh, you know, he faked his own death. Right. And, his body's missing, gone from his grave since the night he heard that someone else decided to don his dreaded miner suit." You know, like they could have easily been like, "Yeah, we're gonna scrap this. Here's the sequel." You know what I mean? Like easily, but you know, I guess it's hard because at that time, no one had really done it yet because Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2 was the first time that had happened. Right. And even Tom Savini didn't work on Friday the 13th Part 2 because they had Jason running around. He was like, "What is it? What are you, crazy?" He was like, the Jason was dead. He was a little boy at the lake. And they were like, "We're going to change all that." And he said, "Well, I'm going to go do The Burning because that's a stupid idea." Well, it goes to show who was stupid and who was smart. Right, exactly. Yep, he doesn't always make the right decision. Made them all the money in that franchise. That one decision to resurrect Jason, gave you 11 more movies. That's right. Yeah, they could have just moved on and not made all the money that they did, but that one decision. Friday the 13th easily could have been a standalone horror movie. You didn't ever it's possible they would have never. You know, it's the fact that it made all the money that it made, and then that crucial decision of saying let's have Jason as the killer now. I mean, that's one of the biggest financial decisions, you know.
Right,
and
absolutely.
it wasn't intentional. They didn't
No.
say, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to be set for the next 20 years.
Right,
No,
right.
they played it by ear.
Took a chance.
And that's what I think, like, the Steve Miner Friday the 13th movies are, you know, so entertaining to watch. They really feel like student films in a way.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And they have that classic formula, and they got really good acting, and, you know, good-looking women and nudity and whatnot. But, you know, that's the formula, man. When I think slashers, I think those movies. By the way, getting a little off topic here.
That's okay.
I'm pretty sure, is next Friday the 13th?
It is. Oh, crap.
Dude, we should. We didn't do part 3 yet, right?
No, we didn't.
We should do part 3.
We could do that. That sounds good. That's a great one. No
yeah,
doubt.
and I actually, for some reason, around Halloween time, that's the one I watch.
Is it really? Nice. Yeah. Actually, I have. Do you have the Blu-ray version with the 3D glasses? Oh my God, that gives me such a headache.
I think Will has the DVD
Okay,
with 3D glasses, and I remember watching it with him, and we were like, yeah, we were both kind of like, this isn't working how, you know. I guess it was cool because, like, I'd never seen the movie in 3D.
Right.
It's weird because it's like, it's so, everything in the movie is so, like, it's 3D, you know. And then
Right.
I remember as a kid, I was like, why do they keep doing that? You know, my dad was like, yeah, it was originally in 3D. I was like, is there any way I could watch in 3D? And at the time, the answer was no. So,
You're right. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if they came out with a 3D Blu-ray? And I don't have a 3D TV anymore, but I used to.
dude, I would love for them, like, maybe the one night re-release the movie
dude.
in 3D in the movies. Like, that would be
Amazing.
so flipping cool.
Yeah, in like real 3D, the new 3D, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way. Like, if there's ways to do, like, all this other stuff, I'm sure there are ways to re-release it.
Right, yeah. What are you waiting on, weirdos?
I don't know. It's kind of annoying because I would love to. That would be a sick night at the movies.
Yeah, it would. I'd definitely be there. I think a lot of people, because I hear it all the time on, you know, on pages and stuff that people want to see it in 3D. So the real, you know, like good 3D anyway, not headache 3D like I get.
Because that's how it was released in the theaters. It wasn't the red blue when it was released in the theaters. It was like the clear 3D.
You sure?
I'm almost positive. Yeah, I think my uncle was telling me when he saw it, it wasn't the red blue. Here, I could look it up.
Huh, interesting.
But actually, you know what? We'll look it up for the next. If it's gonna be the next episode, I'll look it up in the meantime.
Stay tuned for the answer to that question. But one of the things I liked about this movie too was, I'm sure you remember Stu Charno, right? You know,
Yes.
Ted. You know, I thought Howard was that character. Did you like that character, or did you think? Because I think we both agree that we both really like Ted as a character.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed his character. What did you think about Howard in this movie? I mean, dude, he even had red hair and everything. Do you think? They came out the same year, didn't they? Yeah, they both came out in '81. That's kind of weird. But did you care about this character, or did you just think he was just a side character? Didn't even really pay much attention?
Well, I mean, he was, but I think, like I said, I think the characters are really well done. Like, don't they all feel genuine to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they all feel so genuine and real. Like, I like that. Even the first scene where we're pretty much introduced to all of them, and they're like saying hi to their girlfriends and whatnot. Like, I think that's really like. Yeah. I think one guy just picks up his girlfriend by the head.
Yeah,
lifts her like 2 feet off the ground and kisses her. I was like, holy shit! Like, you know, that's pretty hardcore, but. You know, that's affectionate and that's genuine, man. I really like that. All the characters feel super genuine. Yeah,
and I liked when they were sitting around the table, you know, drinking beer, and the waitress comes over. Her name was Harriet, and they had like a little ditty about Harriet, you know, and how she was a virgin. You know, do you remember that when I don't know? I thought that was pretty cool. You know, that character was in. I think that chick was in. Her name was Terry Waterland or something like that. I don't know. I think she might have been in another movie. I don't know. I might be getting her mixed up with somebody else. But again, I agree with you. I thought that these characters seem real. Like they seem like real people in your life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And maybe
like I've come across these people at one time or another.
Yeah, and you know, for some people that might be a turnoff. And you know, I guess I understand that. You know, you want these people, these extraordinary people, and you know. But for me, I prefer my characters to be a little bit more down to earth and a little bit more realistic. And that's one of the things I love about this movie. And I know we've already talked about this a couple times, but I thought these characters were fantastic and very, very relatable. You know what I mean? The stupid shit that they did was stupid shit I would have done when I was, you know, 19 or 20. Well, that is one thing. I always thought these characters seemed a little bit older than they were supposed to be. What did you think? But not that it mattered.
Absolutely, they always do that. That is like the number. Like when you have somebody playing a teenager in high school and they're really in their mid-30s, like
right.
like Carolyn Monroe and was it Slaughter High?
Slaughter High, yeah.
Yeah, like, there are tons of times where like it's super obvious where you're like, oh my god,
right.
Like, do they really expect me to believe that this chick is 17?
Right.
Like
Carolyn Monroe was like 17, the hot teacher.
God bless her. What?
Carolyn Monroe was like the hot teacher in that movie. She wasn't like another student.
Oh shit, was she? Oh my god.
No. She was a student, but she seemed, because she was so much older.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought she was a student.
No, she was a student.
It's been a long time, so I was willing to. But I don't know. I think there's something about that's it's like another charm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, the good thing about this movie, in my opinion, is that it took itself seriously. I think that really added to everything because then it made these characters seem even more real. You know what I mean? It didn't take away from any of the realness of these characters. And I think sometimes, especially in, say, the later Nightmare on Elm Street films and things like that, is the reason you didn't care about those characters is because you were kind of waiting for the next cool Freddy line. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I found in most of these Canadian films is that like I said, Prom Night, Happy Birthday to Me, Terror Train. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it was not to the benefit of the film. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, Terror Train. It took itself too seriously. That movie could have used a little bit more humor than the stupid, mask humor and things like that. But in this movie it worked. So that's how I feel about it anyway. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like, and going back into what you were saying about, like, maybe Friday the 13th, like, I think, not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, even with Part 3 and Part 4, you really care about those characters.
Right.
And then when you get to a movie like Part 5,
right,
the characters are so flat.
Secondary, yeah.
And I think it was Mr. Stephen Hopkins who directed Part 5. I don't know if he wrote it. I don't know who wrote it, but Part 5, I think Freddy, the Dream Child is one of the worst, if not the worst, movie of that series. Like, it's right up there with Freddy's Dead as one of the worst movies of that series. The worst movie of that series.
Wasn't he? Didn't he get that gig because he was a wasn't he an effects guy?
I'm not positive, but I know he made a few more horror movies. I think he made Predator 2, which I've never been a fan of.
Right, yeah, me neither.
I know it does have some kind of
it does. It does, yeah.
I mean, what movie really doesn't?
Well, right. Good point.
But he made, like, a few years ago, he made a movie called The Reaping, and it was a terrible CGI fest with, like,
Hilary Swank.
It was Hilary Swank, or I'm thinking Dakota Fanning.
It might have been one of them.
I'm going to look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, that kind of stuff kind of drives me nuts when I can't remember that shit. But yeah, I agree. I mean, those later, I thought A New Nightmare was okay, but that's probably more because Wes Craven. It was just okay though, and it was probably, like I said, it was because Wes Craven came back. But that movie was confusing as all get out. I don't know if you agree. Are you there? Oh boy. Okay. Well, we lost John. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him back here. Bear with me 1 second while I try to get him. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get him back. We'll have to see how it goes, I suppose. Talk a little bit about, we were talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street and the later ones and how bad they were. But one of the things about this movie that I really liked was the extended death scenes in the special edition. Hold on, John's calling. Are you there, buddy?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I don't know what happened. It just
I don't know what happened either.
It just kind of went.
I put the tab for IMDb up and then it closed out everything.
Good job, man. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That doesn't affect the recording anything, does it?
No. It keeps recording, and I'll just cut that out. No big deal.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible.
No, you're no big deal. No big deal at all. Okay. We were trying to figure out whether he was who the gentleman who directed part 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up on my phone because I tried to look on my computer and it closed out my tabs for some reason, so I have no idea.
Yeah, you're cool. I was just saying that I really think that one of the things that made this movie, and for both of us, was watching the extended version. I really like the extended version a lot. Like, for instance, when Howard, his body falls when they're trying to climb up the ladder, and he's hung, and his head pops off. And then his body falls. I thought, oh my god, because I didn't remember seeing that. That may be the first time I ever watched the extended edition, because I don't remember all that extra stuff. But like, it wasn't like Blu-ray quality because I was watching the Blu-ray. You know what I mean? It wasn't the greatest quality, but it still wasn't bad. You know what I mean? But there was that. The extended death scene for Sylvia when they hang her on the shower. She's waiting for that guy to get, I can't remember the guy's name, to get back so they can have sex. Because listen, they're getting ready to have sex, and the dude's like, "Hey, you know what we're missing? Some beer." Or she says that, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. I mean, if you're in the middle of getting funky." Beer can wait, you know what I mean? Especially when you're supposed to be 20 years old. Nobody cares about the beer, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I always thought that was funny. But the extended scene is really, really cool. Also, the extended scene for Hollis's kill and when Howard's body falls and all that good stuff. I mean, it was, really added to the movie. And anybody who's seen this movie and doesn't enjoy it because there's not a lot of gore, check out the extended edition, because I think it really made it for me. And I was also thinking about how this movie, like I said, this movie could have been Friday the 13th if they did it right. Do you think that's true? Do you think that this had any chance of being Friday the 13th? That's just how I feel about it. I'd like to get your opinion.
To be honest with you, I think there's only one Friday the 13th, and there's only and the reason why that movie was so, I think, impactful and influential on the genre was because it's classic. There's something about it that is just, it's timeless. It's absolutely timeless. When I watch a movie like that, I know it's like sitting down and watching like a Turner Classic movie.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Sure,
sure. When it comes on, you're like in awe. You're like, this is one of the quintessential classic movies. And even though, if you look on IMDb, it'll never be as rated as high as Halloween. It'll never be rated as high as Black Christmas.
Sure.
But it's on the level of those movies to me. I don't care that it's not as well made, even though I think Sean Cunningham does a great job in the director's chair, which I don't know if I could say about that. Is he a one-hit wonder? Yeah, probably. But I mean, that movie is very similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre in and of the fact that I think it's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
I don't think, and no matter how many ripoffs, no matter how many holidays or whatnot, I don't think they could recapture that feel of that classic feel of the atmosphere of the camp, the characters, and I think the Savini effects. I think all these things worked in a perfect cohesive unit to make Friday the 13th the legendary film that it is. And I honestly think in like the lexicon of horror films, that's got to be, the first one mentioned. Like to me, if you asked me, Friday the 13th or this movie, I wouldn't even think twice to think Friday the 13th. And I know what your question was, if My Bloody Valentine came first. I can't say I agree, because I don't think this movie has the classic feel.
Gotcha.
That I think it's, but on its own merit, I think it's a top 10 slasher movie. I really do. Is it on my top 10? Probably not. But I think in again, if I had to pick, the quintessential top 10, I think this movie's close, probably in the top 5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I got you. And I asked that question also knowing that if there wasn't a Friday the 13th, there's no My Bloody Valentine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another reason why it's very hard to say.
Right.
Because I think the influence for this movie was from Friday the 13th. So then I don't know how good this movie would have been had it come before, because it would have probably just been trying to rip off Halloween.
Right, exactly. So yeah,
it still might have just worked, but I don't know. I don't think like movies like this, movies like Mad Men, like they're not as classic feeling as Friday the 13th. That's how I'd separate it. Like I just think it's such a classic movie.
Yeah, and you know what? Thinking about it, I totally agree. I just think that like you said, lightning in a bottle is a very, very good way to put it with Friday the 13th, and the fact that they didn't have I guess they had Halloween, but and we've talked about this a million times, the fact that Friday the 13th is what really created the slasher genre, and they didn't have anything to go off of other than Halloween, and I feel like they're two very, very different films. So they created a lot of the stuff that the later films obviously copied to be successful. So I totally agree with you, 100%.
I see that, ladies and gentlemen. I changed his opinion.
Uh-oh.
Unwillingly, too. I wasn't trying to. I just, that's just how I feel about the whole thing. It's so hard to, for me to say Friday the 13th isn't the creme de la creme,
Right.
But yeah, it is. It really is. That's a classic-ass movie.
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to say about?
Well, I guess we could talk quickly about the remake, because I know that you were wanting to talk about that on this episode. What are your thoughts on the remake? Because I unfortunately didn't get a chance to give it a rewatch this past time because I've been so busy, and the only time I had the only stuff I had other time for was movies I really want to check off on this Halloween horror list.
Right.
But what did you think of the remake?
Well, I will say that I think the remake is an entertaining movie. I really do. I think that for this movie is total popcorn, and not that all slashers aren't, but I think they succeeded, and the difference between this movie, why this movie doesn't have the heart, see what I did there, doesn't have the heart that the original has, is because what they really, and I agree with what you said earlier, is they really focus on the 3D aspect and the name recognition of the people in the movie, and the original. There was nobody in this movie that you recognized. So there was, maybe the sheriff and even the mayor you may recognize from old movies if but nobody that I recognized. But in this movie, I mean, you had people like Jensen Ackles from Supernatural, Kerr Smith from Dawson's Creek, Jamie King, who was in like Pearl Harbor, and all the Sin City, things like that. And then you obviously had the man whom I absolutely love, and I know you are a huge fan of. You had Tom Atkins, who was, in Halloween 3, and, Night of the Comet, or Night of the Creeps, and, all that, you know what I mean? So there was, I think that's what they tried to do. They tried to show you the technical aspects of the movie, and they did a really good job with the 3D. Did you ever see it in 3D?
Yes, I believe I did see it in 3D.
The 3D was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. This is one where I know a lot of people, it seems like the people that really love it really do love it, and the people that really hate it really do hate it. So this is really seems to be a polarizing movie, but even though it is, I would actually say I think it's just like mindless fun, and I think that's a really good thing in this specific genre, because it's I feel like too many times now with the newer slasher movies, they try to explain everything and they try to get away from that formula, but this movie really doesn't do that. This really is, I mean, boobs, blood, and mayhem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it is what a classic slasher should entail.
Right.
Not that I think it is, or a great movie. It's not. But there are really not a lot of slasher movies that I would consider technically great films. Right. I think they're all technically kind of bad films.
Right.
But I think that's the charm.
Right.
That's what makes the wheel turn. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like you don't need the acting, you just need an entertaining 90 minutes, and I think this movie, I would say it passes on that merit. Then again, I haven't seen it in a while,
right?
I will give it a rewatch somewhere down the road, but
sure.
I feel bad that I didn't, but I'll be honest, like, there's so much stuff I really want to get to around this time of the season, so, but I will give it a rewatch eventually, and I'll totally can add more insight on this, but I would give it a passing grade. What would you?
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely it's a solid 5 out of 10, if not more. I think that if I keep it at a 5, I feel much better about that. A 6. I don't like this movie as much as say the original, or even Prom Night or anything like that. So I think it's a solid 5. But for
what would you give the original?
Oh man, dude, I would have to go with probably a 7.5. Yeah, 7.5.
I'd go right around there too. I think I'd go 7.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
another very great quintessential slasher movie of the 80s.
You know, it's when we give these movies scores, it's very hard to leave the nostalgia aspect out of it. You know what I mean? Because you know, if people are listening to the show and they really just want to go see a good, you know, they want to see a good movie or see a slasher movie, I want to leave. You know what I mean? I want to be try to be a little objective. To let them, you know, for me personally, I mean, this movie probably rates as an 8.5 or a 9, but I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? I don't think that's fair to the people listening. So keep that in mind. I'm not trying to skew anybody's opinion whether or not they want to go see this movie, but I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah, there are a lot of movies where my friends would be like, give me a movie that you really, really like, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll tell them, you know, some obscure title, and then they'll be like, yo, it sucked.
That was
stupid. I was like, dude, I saw it when I was like 7, and like it blew my pants off. So you know, exactly. I loved it. But you know, that happens a lot with me. Even we were talking. I was saying let's do an episode on Hocus Pocus, because that's a movie I watched when I was growing up around Halloween time, and it's to this day probably my favorite movie to watch on or around Halloween, because I think it's honestly one of the best Halloween trope movies of all time. But you were like, "Oh, dude, I have no interest in seeing that." So I started laughing. I was like,
I feel bad.
At least he is honest, you know.
Yeah, I feel bad, but I can't.
Dude, I can't blame you. It's not like I totally don't blame you at all.
Well, the thing is that I know there's a ton of people out there who really, really like that movie. You know what it's like. I'm going to give you another movie that's very, very similar that people absolutely love. That I would rather take a 3-hour dump than to sit down and watch, and that's a the Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh my God, you scared me! I thought you were gonna say A Nightmare on Elm Street. I was like,
no.
I don't think we could do this show anymore.
No, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, yeah, that movie I'm not a big fan of either.
I've never seen it. I don't have any desire to sit down and watch it. But you know, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. I just have no desire. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest. I don't blame you, especially with Nightmare Before Christmas. I'll be honest though. I think if you did sit down and watch Hocus Pocus, you'd like it. There's a lot of like David Kirshner, Mick Garris, like a lot of like horror legends.
Yeah.
Worked on the script and stuff of that movie. It's unbelievable, but I swear it's one of the best, if not my favorite movies to watch around this time of year.
Take my advice, pal. Quit while you're ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around. You know what? Because you recommended it, I'm going to sit down and try to watch it. Is that something I should make my kids watch with me?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
That is dude, it's a perfect family film. If you want to. It's not, I don't want to do an episode on it. I'm thinking we should do an episode on like our top movies to watch around this time of year.
Okay.
And then we'll pick 5 or 6 each, and we'll just do like not like a top 10 list or anything, no order, but like we can just talk about certain movies we like to watch and why. And
well, that's cool. You know. Then that'll be included, right?
Yeah. Okay. So this way I can talk about it for 5 minutes and say about everything I love about the movie, and then you don't have to sit through it. So.
Well, no, I'm totally no. I mean, I will just go. You know, I mean, if you like it that much, I should definitely sit down and watch it. So, but
keep in mind though, it's nostalgic. Like
sure. No, I get it. Maybe it'll be on my list next year.
Is The Worst Witch nostalgic for you?
The what?
Have you ever seen The Worst Witch?
No.
Oh no, that's Tim Curry, man, dude. You gotta see that. Oh man, that's classic.
I'm not a big witch movie guy for some reason. You know what I mean? Thinking about it, like you really like the Rob Zombie movie,
Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem. Yeah, you that's another witch movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and for some reason I couldn't get into that either. Although
you weren't the only one. A lot of people. Including, I watched it with a bunch of my friends. They were all like, "Dude, you're on cocaine if you like that." It was like,
what's that got to do with it?
I like Coca-Cola. I was like, I like Coca-Cola,
right? And listen, I love Sherry Moon. I mean, I love.
Oh my God.
What I mean?
If you don't love Sherry Moon,
yeah.
Can't get along.
But maybe it was just the time that I even own it. I mean, I bought it as soon as the day it came out. But I just, maybe I need to sit down and watch it again.
No, dude, I think that's one of those things where I just kind of overrate the movie. Like,
Gotcha.
I'll even be the first one to tell you that, like, I just liked the movie.
Whoa.
But, like, I could totally see why someone could say, like, oh, this is pretentious art. Screw Rob Zombie. He's a piece of shit. But coming off those 2 Halloween movies, I think that movie was, like, unbelievably good, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, if you compare them to the Halloweens, yeah. But you're big on ambiance, you know what I mean? So I mean, I get that, you know what I mean? It was very Suspiria like.
Yes, it has some Shining vibes.
Yeah,
it has some Suspiria vibes. It has a really I thought that was such a cool idea. It felt like an idea out of the 70s to have this song played on the radio and that trances these women. And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, "That's fucking brilliant!"
Yeah.
And having Ken Foree, a little Dawn of the Dead connection, as one of the co-hosts.
Absolutely.
Rob Zombie always does these little things that I'm kind of like, "Oh damn, I can't help but like this," you know. But there are some times where it's like, "Damn, this is terrible." So,
you're like, "Man, I wish he was
very,
better."
very hit or miss. But we'll do this. How about we do part 3? We'll do Friday the 13th part 3 in honor of Friday the 13th next week.
Okay, all right.
And then maybe we'll do our top movies to watch around this time of the year.
Nice. That sounds
in
good.
a couple weeks. And
then maybe the week after that we'll do the original Halloween, since we haven't talked about that yet.
Oh yeah, sure.
That
sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. But I did want to mention one more thing, since we brought up Sherry Moon Zombie, whatever you want to call her. The best part of My Bloody Valentine 3D is Betsy Rue.
Damn straight.
That is probably the longest nude scene I've ever seen, and she's obviously very attractive. She was in, as a matter of fact, she was in Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2, right? I believe so.
I don't want to look it up because I don't know the connection.
I'll do it. But yeah, and there's a very, extended scene. How long would you say that is?
Oh my God,
4 or 5 minutes at least.
Memory serves, a few minutes.
Yeah, so that's and she's, like I said, she's super attractive. Of course, this movie was also written by Todd Farmer. You know who Todd Farmer is. I know you're probably not a big fan. He actually wrote Jason X.
Oh.
Yeah, which again, it gets a lot of hate, but I think it's an enjoyable. I don't think it's a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one you could sit down and watch, and turn your brain off for.
That's one movie I got through it once, and I've never ever had the desire to go back.
I have to be honest. I think I've only seen it twice.
Yeah, that's saying a lot, since I've probably seen the other ones. Even movies like Part 8, I've seen over a dozen times.
Right.
I've seen even the later, the ones that people don't like as much, like Part 7, Part 8. I've seen them a lot of times. So after you get post Part 8, I don't really watch many of those. Maybe Freddy versus Jason probably be the one I've seen the most.
Yeah. I totally agree. But I don't know if people really like. Some people really like change, like people like Part 8. And, I'm not a huge fan, just because I felt like I had the reaction to that a lot of people had to Halloween 3, because Jason's not in it very much, you know what I mean? And so, and listen, I like Halloween. I love Halloween 3. Now, I didn't originally, but I really love it now. But, I think that's part of it. Jason wasn't in it too much. But then there's some people who really, really love it. So it's kind of one of those polarizing things. And I just looked it up, and Betsy Rue was in Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2. She had a small part, but
that's another movie. I don't think Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think I only saw it once.
Yeah, I don't think I watched the full movie, dude. To be honest with you, it was just I thought it was just brutal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another thing, another cool thing about the remake of My Blood. I don't want to call it a remake, but whatever remake or whatever they want to call it nowadays. It was directed by Patrick Lussier, who him and Todd Farmer, they did.
Yeah, he was an editor.
Yeah. Yes.
For wasn't he Scream?
Yes.
Scream editor?
Yes.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And he wrote the movie Terminator Genesis, which that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think that's a very good movie. But, he has some ties to the horror genre. So, and I think he did something else too, but I can't remember what it was.
Didn't he make the one where they're in space, Apollo 18?
Oh, did he really?
All the rocks come to life. It was a weird fucking movie.
It was
in the theater though.
Yeah, I never saw that movie.
It was hated by everybody. He edited it. He was involved. I remember seeing his name in the credits, and I was like, "Oh shit, maybe this will be halfway worth the shit." And then all this, oh my god, it was a pretty terrible movie. But there's some reason that I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Literally, I think it gets a 3 on IMDb, and I actually thought it wasn't that bad. I was like, oh, it was entertaining. It was fucking so bad, it was kind of enjoyable for me.
Yeah, it looks like he's edited a lot of horror movies.
Like Dracula 2000,
yeah,
right?
All the Scream movies, actually through 1, 2, and 3. He did Halloween H2O, I thought, and Mimic. I don't know. Are you a Mimic fan? You ever seen that movie?
I've seen Mimic once, but it's basically like I haven't seen it. I don't remember shit about it.
He also did New Nightmare, Freddy. You know that movie.
Man, yeah, he has a lot of connections to the genre.
Interesting.
Good for him that he got a chance to direct something. And from what I remember, I thought it was a pretty entertaining, passable movie. I don't remember hating. Like, I know there are people that hate it, like think it's one of the worst. Like, I don't. It's not a movie that takes itself seriously enough for me to hate it and put that much, like, you know, emotion into it, you know.
right, exactly. So, but you know, this movie for the later generation, and you know, it's crazy to think that this movie was released 11 years ago, 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago.
Shit, I was fucking 11 when that movie came out. That's sick.
That's pretty crazy. So, but you know, this movie, I think the younger generation, you know, people who aren't into slashers like we are, you know, the 80s and things like that, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, they'll enjoy My Bloody Valentine 3D. And if you get to see it in 3D, I mean, it makes it that much better, because then you forget about how bad some of it is. Maybe that's part of it. But
yeah, it's the gimmick, you know, rubs off on how shitty the movie is.
And I think that most of, you know, like if you think about Todd Farmer's movies, you know, he did Drive Angry, like I said, Jason X, and this, that's kind of his thing, is visuals, you know what I mean? He doesn't write the best dialogue, he doesn't, you know, his storylines aren't the best, but the movies generally look pretty good, you know what I mean? And I know he doesn't really have anything to do with that, but, you know, the writing does go, you know, especially when he's working with a friend, so, but I thought it was a good movie, you know, I mean, it ended a little differently, I guess. The character development just wasn't there, but I thought it was an enjoyable movie. So if you haven't seen the remake, I would be surprised, first of all, but second of all, you should definitely check it out. All right, brother.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, you heard it here first. We're going to be talking about Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now, at some point, I'm hoping we work through a lot of the Friday the 13th. I mean, I definitely want to talk about 4, don't you?
Oh my God, 4 and 5 are the two.
Yeah,
I'm dying to talk about for sure.
You know, and it seems like most people really enjoy Part 4, although it's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination.
Part 4 and Part 5 are like tied for my favorite.
For your number one.
Yes, really? And then I'd go Part 2, and then I'd go the original, and then I'd go Part 3.
Yeah,
it'd be like my top 5.
Yeah, for me, it's probably find out next week.
Okay, yeah, I should have given mine away.
I just thought about it as I was getting ready to say it. I'm like, maybe I should make people wait.
This is that was something to tide you over, and now Don Nice is the one that he'll deliver his next week.
Yeah, no doubt. Should I play the quick TV spot for My Bloody Valentine 3D just for the hell of it?
Yeah, why the hell not?
All right, here we go.
The most horrific event this town has ever seen. Authorities are calling this the Valentine's Day Massacre.
My Bloody Valentine 3D. Rated R.
Cool. So, you know, it's hard. You know, I remember growing up, you know, they would have stuff on the radio all the time. They would have little blurbs, 30 seconds, 20 seconds on the radio, which was really cool because they, you know, for your podcast, because they described everything. You know, there was a lot of talking instead of a lot of nothing, you know, like that. There was a time, you know, 10 seconds in there where they didn't say anything. But now they don't do that anymore. It's not like it used to be. So it's kind of weird. Not a whole lot to pull from there. But anyways, anything else, brother?
No, my man.
Okay, cool. I'm very excited about next week, man. I'm always excited to talk about Jason.
Yeah, and I'll watch Friday the 13th rewatch Part 3 for the millionth time.
Right. And this week I am going to watch Hocus Pocus, even though we're not talking about it for 2 weeks. I'm going to watch it this week.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what
at least,
did you watch any of those Twilight Zones?
Dude, I still haven't, man. You know why I haven't? Because I haven't had time. I want to, like, when I watch, I want to get into, like, a couple of them. You know what I mean? I want to watch them in a row. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't had the opportunity to do that. So I haven't broken, it seems like every time I want to watch that, there's something the wife wants to watch, or the kids, the Transformers comes up, or, we got something going on. Like, my life is pretty busy right now because I've lost 30 pounds in the last 26 days. So
wow, that's amazing.
I've been walking,
man.
I've been walking a lot and things like that. So I've been outside, the weather's been beautiful. So I definitely am going to get to it for sure. Hopefully sometime this month. I know it's supposed to rain a lot this week, so I'll be in the house a little bit more than I have been. So maybe I'll get a chance to watch that. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to start because I know you're a big fan, and I'm sure, if you like them, I'm going to like them. So, but I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to Hocus Pocus, but I'm not going to talk about it. We'll talk about it in 2 weeks for sure. And,
sweet,
yes.
I am very excited to hear the Don.
I'll let you know, and I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to blow any smoke if I don't.
Oh
like
no,
it.
I'm excited because even if you don't like it, I think it'll be a fun conversation.
No doubt. I'm going to end the episode this week. Well, first of all, I want to say, obviously check us out, fhmpodcast@gmail.com or Flashback Horror Movie Podcast @gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook @Flashback Horror, also on Twitter and Instagram @Flashback Horror. We don't post a ton on there, but at least maybe something new every day. John will put something on, or I'll put something on. Check us out, follow us. Give us a like on iTunes too. If you listen to us on iTunes, it can only help get people interested. So, but I'm going to end the episode a little bit differently this week with some music that's a little bit different. But I guess I'll let you see that. Hey man, I hope you have a good weekend, and I will catch you. I'll text you sometime next week, but I'll definitely catch you on Friday for sure.
You got it, brother. Keep it creepy.
All right. Keep it creepy, my man.
Once upon a time, on a sad Valentine, in a place known as Hanniger Mine, a legend began. Every woman and man would always remember the time. And those who remained were never the same. You could see the fear in their eyes. Once every year, as the 14th draws near, there's a hush all over the town. For the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on and on. And no one will know, as the years come and go, of the horror from long time ago.